Labriola is an Indigenous-led library focusing a lot on research and archiving and programming.
So one of the main things that we offer is culturally appropriate research services, which can look like one-on-one consultations, can look like instructional sessions. From there, it goes into more various research services tailored for Indigenous students, mainly centered in Indigenous research methodologies.
So as an Indigenous library, we focus on Indigenous librarianship, which predominantly advocates for things like tribal data sovereignty, which just means that we should have control over our own information, who has access to that information. One of the main things that we do here is called community-driven archive. So what we do is we provide the tools, the skills, and the knowledge to these communities so that way they can preserve the information that they feel should be preserved.
Well, the Labriola Center is actually named after one of our key donors, Frank Labriola and Mary Labriola. They were able to establish the endowment fund back in 1993. I would like to note that before that was established, there was folks before that that were advocating for a Native American center here at ASU, mainly Mimi McBride, who was an unsung hero when it comes down to the creation of Labriola. I became the director in 2021 and been able to expand the center because up to this point it's been a unit of one full-time staff position. Now we have 4.
We have 2 locations. We have one over at West Campus out at Glendale, and then we have the one here in downtown Tempe.
Labriola has been here in this space. You know, this space was kind of being renovated, and Labriola was in a lot of ways, most of its services were pushed over to the West Campus. Students started talking about it, started raising the issues with that, and doing a lot of advocating to have, you know, the old Labriola space, which was a big part of our Indigenous community here at ASU, come back. And when they did that, you know, the library stepped up. They started working towards getting space back here at the Hayden Library to where we now have our 2nd floor space and our 3rd floor space.
It's both Indigenous, non-Indigenous communities coming here and accessing this knowledge that we don't normally see in mainstream. And I think that it's extremely important to have a place where you can engage with a collection that's books, authors, Indigenous authors written by the Indigenous community themselves.
We've done a lot of really amazing community engagement. So a lot of our events involve like music, art, creative writing.
It also has really allowed me to explore my creative side of things through my job position, as well as just being in these spaces.
Labriola has set it up where you're always going to have a room available to do your studies, or if you need a break from the world or anything like that, you're just going through something, you'd want to come here knowing that there's going to be people that are just like you and are going to be understanding of your issues, because we are different and not a lot of people get that, so you need a space like this.
It's important to note that the work we do at the Labriola Center is rooted on the lands that we're on, which is Akimel O'odham territory. And so when it comes through our services, our events, our programming, how we steward collections, and the space that we create here, that's in the forefront because we are on Indigenous land.
The plans that Labriola have in the future focusing on many numerous projects, focusing with tribal communities, cultural advocacy and awareness, Indigenous data sovereignty, research, and providing a more Indigenous perspective towards the Indigenous information library and science.
We seek to really empower our Indigenous people for information literacy from an Indigenous perspective in hopes that it builds up the cultural sovereignty and overall tribal sovereignty within our tribal communities.